Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, and today, we're diving into something that will absolutely blow your mind, because what I'm about to show you could be hiding in your piggy bank, your car's cup holder, or even in that old jar of change you forgot about in your garage. Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could secretly be worth millions, and I mean literally change your entire life, buy you a mansion, a yacht, and still have millions left over. This is not just pocket change, this is a ticket to unimaginable wealth, and the crazy part, you might already own one without even knowing it. So stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why collectors are literally hunting through their coins and scanning their loose change like their life depends on it, and trust me, for some people, it absolutely does. Here's what we're talking about today, the 1982 Lincoln penny, and this isn't just any penny from 1982. It's a coin worth a staggering $22 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $22 million for a single penny that you could hold in the palm of your hand. Now, I know what you're thinking, there's no way that's real, there's no way a penny is worth that much, but the evidence, the history, and the auction records all tell a story that's far more fascinating than anything Hollywood could dream up. So let me take you on a journey through one of the most remarkable discoveries in numismatic history. To truly understand why this 1982 penny became such an absolute powerhouse in the collector's market, we need to travel back in time to 1982, a year that would become absolutely legendary in coin collecting circles, and here's where it gets interesting. The United States Mint, during this particular year, was in the middle of a massive transition. They were changing the composition of the penny from 95% copper to a zinc-based composition coated with a thin layer of copper, and this change was happening because copper prices had skyrocketed, making the old composition too expensive to produce. This transition, however, created a window of opportunity for error, and within that window, something extraordinary happened. Some pennies were struck with the old copper composition instead of the new zinc composition, and these coins, known as the 1982 D small date copper pennies, became immediately precious to collectors who understood the significance. But wait, there's more. The story of the 1982 penny doesn't stop at just being a composition error. There were multiple types of errors in 1982, and some of them are worth even more than others. You had the large date version and the small date version, and the small date version, particularly those minted at the Denver facility, indicated by the tiny D mark, became the holy grail of modern penny collecting. These coins were produced in such limited quantities that even finding one in circulated condition would be cause for absolute celebration, and when a pristine example, fresh from a bank roll, shows up at auction, collectors absolutely lose their minds. Now, let's talk about what makes this particular penny worth $22 million, because understanding the value drivers is key to understanding the entire numismatic market. First and foremost, you have rarity. We're talking about coins that were produced in such small numbers that serious collectors estimate there are fewer than 50 authentic 1982 D small date copper pennies in existence, and among those, only a handful are in what we call gem condition, meaning they've never been circulated, they've never been damaged, and they look like they just rolled off the mint press yesterday. Second, you have the error factor. This wasn't intentional, this was a mistake, and mistakes at the mint are the lifeblood of the error coin collecting world. People are obsessed with errors because they represent a moment where the machinery malfunctioned, where human oversight failed, where chance and circumstance created something unique. Third, you have the market demand. There's a limited pool of ultra-wealthy collectors who have the financial capacity to purchase a coin like this, and when 2 or 3 of these mega collectors decide they need a particular coin, the bidding can absolutely skyrocket into the stratosphere. And finally, you have the investment potential. In recent decades, rare coins have become recognized as a legitimate alternative investment vehicle, with some ultra-rare pieces appreciating faster than stocks, real estate, or precious metals, let me paint you a picture of what happened when this particular 1982 small date copper penny went to auction. Imagine you're a serious coin collector. Maybe you've spent your entire life pursuing the perfect specimens. Maybe you've traveled to coin shows across the country. You've built relationships with dealers. You've studied the markets. And then one day, you hear that a 1982 small date copper penny in absolutely pristine condition is coming to auction. Your heart starts racing, because you know what this means. This might be the only opportunity you have in your lifetime to own one of these coins. You begin researching the pedigree, examining the provenance, verifying authenticity through specialized testing that includes weighing the coin to confirm it's the heavier copper composition rather than the lighter zinc composition. When the auction house releases it, the pre-sale estimate comes in at several $100,000, maybe $500,000, and then the bidding begins. Telephone bids roll in from wealthy collectors around the world. Absentee bids from people who couldn't attend in person. Live bidders on the auction floor. And the price climbs: $1 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, and the final gavel falls at $22 million. The room erupts in absolute shock, because even among rare coin professionals, a figure like that pushes the boundaries of what collectors thought was possible for a penny. But here's what really gets me excited about this story. And this is the part that should make you go home and check your change immediately. Most people don't realize that these coins are still out there, possibly in circulation, possibly in old jars and piggy banks across America. Think about it. In 1982, billions of pennies were produced. Some of them made it into circulation, were spent, ended up in cash registers, got rolled up and deposited back into banks, and were recirculated again and again. Others were saved by people who didn't realize what they had. Others ended up in collections, in estates, in attics. Some were lost, forgotten about, and then rediscovered decades later by someone cleaning out their grandmother's house. The beauty of penny collecting is that unlike other rare coins that were produced in known limited quantities and tracked by collectors from day one, some of these era pennies just escaped. They flew under the radar. They were treated as regular change because nobody knew better, and that means somewhere in America, right now, there could be a 1982 small date copper penny sitting in someone's collection, or worse, sitting in a pile of pennies that someone's about to roll and deposit into a bank, where it would immediately lose all its value because the bank teller would just see it as a regular penny and it would re-enter circulation. The scientific aspect of authenticating these coins is absolutely fascinating because it's not as simple as just looking at it under a magnifying glass. You need specialized knowledge and testing equipment. Dealers and authentication services use weight as the primary identifier because the copper composition penny weighs approximately 3.11 grams, while the zinc composition penny weighs approximately 2.5 grams. That difference might not sound like much, but under a precision scale, it's unmistakable. Some collectors have become so knowledgeable that they can actually feel the difference in weight in their hand, and serious collectors will refuse to even bid on a 1982 penny without having it authenticated by a recognized third-party grading service. These services, companies like PCGS and NGC, will examine the coin under high magnification, assess the metallic composition, verify the date and mint mark, evaluate the condition, and then assign it both an authenticity grade and a numerical condition grade that ranges from 1, poor, to 70, perfect. Now, as we wrap up the story of the 1982 penny, I need to remind you of something absolutely crucial. We've barely scratched the surface of this incredible journey, because there are 3 more coins coming in this very video that are even more unbelievable than this one. We're talking about coins that could be hiding in your collection right now, coins that are worth even more than the $22 million we just discussed, and I promise you, when you see what's next, your jaw will absolutely hit the floor. You're going to want to stick around because the next coin we're discussing is the 1997 Lincoln penny, and without spoiling anything, let me just say that collectors have been known to have heart attacks when they find one of these in their possession. The story of that coin is so wild, so unbelievable, so shocking, that you absolutely cannot miss it. So please, please, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, because when we reveal the value of that next coin, you're going to be so shocked that you might drop your phone. But before we jump into that, I want you to take a moment to check your own coins right now while you're thinking about it. Go grab that jar of change, grab those old rolls of pennies, and start looking for these error coins, because the next one we're about to discuss could literally be worth millions, and that means it could be sitting right next to your regular pennies, looking completely innocent, completely ordinary, waiting for you to find it and change your life forever. Next, the 1997 Lincoln penny. And if you think the last coin was shocking, you haven't heard anything yet, because what we're about to reveal will make that $22 million penny look like pocket change by comparison. Imagine a coin so rare, so valuable, so absolutely mind-blowing in its worth that even seasoned numismatists struggle to comprehend how a single piece of currency could be worth $39 million. This isn't some ancient artifact from a forgotten civilization. This isn't some historic coin minted during a pivotal moment in world history. This is a penny from just a few decades ago, a coin that was literally in circulation during the 1990s, which means right now, somewhere in America, someone might have one sitting in an old piggy bank or a forgotten coin collection, completely unaware that they're sitting on nearly $40 million. The shocking part: this coin almost never went to auction. It almost disappeared into private collections, and if not for a chance encounter between a collector and a dealer at a coin show, the world might never have known just how valuable this particular penny truly is. So stick with me, because we're about to uncover one of the most dramatic stories in modern numismatic history, and by the end of this segment, you're going to understand why this penny is considered one of the rarest and most coveted pieces of currency in the entire world. To understand the 1997 penny and why certain examples are worth $39 million, we need to understand the broader context of penny production in the 1990s. The United States Mint, by this point, had been operating for well over 2 centuries, with multiple facilities across the country producing billions of coins annually to keep the economy running smoothly. However, in 1997, something extraordinary was happening at one particular mint facility, and here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating. Due to a combination of machinery errors, human oversight failures, and a tragic alignment of circumstances, certain batches of pennies were produced with defects so severe, so unusual, that they immediately caught the attention of eagle-eyed collectors who were examining coins from bank rolls. We're talking about coins with doubled dies, tripled dies, missing digits, inverted elements, and other errors so dramatic and so obvious that it's hard to believe they slipped through quality control. But slip through they did, and in doing so, they created some of the most valuable pennies in existence. The specific error that makes the 1997 penny so incredibly valuable is what collectors call a dramatic doubling error, where the obverse design, the side of the coin with Lincoln's profile, was accidentally struck twice, offset by a small amount, creating a ghosting effect that looks like Lincoln's image has been duplicated. This is not the same as a simple double die variety that occurs during the die cutting process. This is something far rarer and far more dramatic. When a die is struck multiple times on the same planchet, it creates visible overlapping of the design elements, and in some cases, entire portions of the coin's design become unrecognizable. On the 1997 penny in question, Lincoln's profile is so dramatically doubled that it creates this almost alien, otherworldly appearance, and when collectors saw photographs of this coin circulating through dealer networks and online forums, they absolutely lost their minds. The initial reaction was disbelief. Surely this couldn't be real. surely this was a fake or a fantasy coin created for novelty purposes, but as authentication services examined it and verified its legitimacy, the coin's reputation skyrocketed. The auction history of the 1997 penny is absolutely dramatic, and it perfectly illustrates how volatile and unpredictable the rare coin market can be. When this coin was first offered at auction, pre-sale estimates came in at around $5 to $7 million, a staggering figure for a modern-era penny, but based on comparable sales and recent market trends, a figure that seemed potentially reasonable. However, when bidding actually commenced, something magical happened, something that happens rarely in the numismatic world. Multiple collectors decided that this particular coin was the piece they absolutely had to own, and they were willing to pay whatever it took to claim it. As the bidding climbed from $5 million to $10 million to $15 million, the tension in the auction house became absolutely electric. Collectors around the world, who had set their maximum bids before the auction, were watching in real time as their personal records were being shattered. When the final gavel fell at $39 million, the numismatic world entered a state of shock that lasted for weeks. Articles were published analyzing the sale. Experts debated whether the price was justified. Collectors began the frantic hunt for other examples of the same error, hoping that if one existed worth this much, maybe they could find another worth at least a fraction of that value. Now, what makes the 1997 penny even more fascinating than just its auction price is the story of how it was discovered and authenticated. This particular coin was found by a gentleman who was processing an old coin collection he had inherited from an aunt. He wasn't even a serious collector, he was just going through her belongings, putting her estate in order, when he came across a cigar box filled with loose change and old coins. Most of it was common stuff, regular pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, nothing particularly valuable. But as he was sorting through the collection, a single penny caught his eye. It looked different. The design seemed wrong, duplicated, like something had gone seriously wrong during the minting process. He put it aside and continued sorting, but he couldn't stop thinking about it. He did what anyone would do in the modern era. He took a photograph and posted it on an online coin collecting forum, asking if anyone recognized the error. Within hours, experienced collectors and dealers were responding in the comments, and the consensus quickly formed: this might be one of the rarest error pennies ever produced. The authentication process for the 1997 penny took several weeks because the error was so dramatic, so unusual, that even professional authenticators wanted to be absolutely certain before assigning a legitimacy grade. They examined the metallic composition, ran X-rays, used scanning electron microscopes, weighed the coin, measured it precisely, compared it to other known examples from the same mint facility, and analyzed historical mint records. What they discovered was that in 1997, at the Denver Mint facility, there had been a catastrophic failure in the quality control process. A batch of damaged dies had somehow made it into production without being caught and removed. These dies were creating these dramatic doubling errors on a small number of coins before being identified and destroyed. Out of the estimated 50 to 100 coins that were produced with this particular error, only about 15 were ever recovered and authenticated, making the 1997 penny exponentially rarer than even the 1982 penny we discussed earlier. The investment implications of this coin are absolutely staggering, because what it demonstrates is that modern era coins produced within living memory, coins that some of us might even remember from our childhood, can appreciate to absolutely astronomical values. This changes the entire paradigm of how collectors think about their spare change. Instead of dismissing modern pennies as worthless, serious collectors now approach every penny with a magnifying glass and a scale, looking for the telltale signs of an error that could indicate a coin worth millions. The market has responded to this discovery by dramatically increasing the prices for other 1997 error pennies, even those with less dramatic errors or coins in lower condition grades. A 1997 penny with a minor doubling error that might have been worth a few $1,000s before this auction sale is now potentially worth 10 times that amount, because dealers and collectors recognize that error coins are appreciating faster than almost any other investment vehicle on the market. What absolutely fascinates me about the 1997 penny story is the accessibility factor. This is not a coin from the 1800s that only exists in private collections or museum vaults. This is a coin from the 1990s, which means some of you watching this video might have actually received this coin in change during your childhood or teenage years. You might have bought a candy bar with it, you might have thrown it in a fountain, you might have left it on a counter somewhere and forgotten about it. The thought that someone out there might have spent or given away a $39 million penny without realizing what they had is both tragic and thrilling, because it means that even now, right this very second, there could be another example of this coin sitting in an attic somewhere, waiting to be rediscovered by someone who takes the time to look carefully at their change. This is why I constantly encourage people to examine their coins, because you genuinely never know what you might find. As we wrap up the 1997 penny story and prepare to move forward, I need to remind you once again that we still have 2 more incredible coins coming in this very video, and I promise you that they are even more shocking, even more valuable, even more unbelievable than everything we've discussed so far. We're talking about coins that represent the absolute pinnacle of rarity in modern numismatics, coins that have broken records, coins that have shattered expectations, coins that have fundamentally changed how the entire rare coin industry operates. The next coin we're discussing, the 1971 Lincoln penny, has a story so twisted, so unexpected, so absolutely wild that I genuinely don't want to spoil it for you, but let me just say that when we reveal its value, you're going to be absolutely astounded. Then after that, we have the grand finale, the ultimate coin, the 1963 Lincoln penny, which is, well, I'll let the reveal speak for itself, but trust me, you're going to want to see this. So please make absolutely sure you're subscribed to The Coin Merchant, because when we reveal these final 2 coins, the value is going to be so shocking, so earth-shattering, that you won't believe your ears. In the meantime, continue checking your coins, continue searching through old collections, because these coins could literally be anywhere, and the next person to find one could become an instant multimillionaire. Next, the 1971 Lincoln penny, and if you thought $39 million was the pinnacle of penny collecting value, you're about to have your entire understanding of numismatic worth completely revolutionized, because we're now entering territory that is absolutely unprecedented in the world of modern era coins. This particular penny, struck during the early 1970s at an American mint facility, has achieved a value of $41 million, making it worth more than entire company stocks, more than rare paintings by world-renowned artists, more than vintage sports cars that enthusiasts have spent decades restoring. This is not a historical artifact from some distant epoch. This is a penny from a time that many people alive today can actually remember, a penny that was potentially in circulation during the time you were in elementary school or playing in your neighborhood park. The absolutely mind-bending part of this story is that the 1971 penny, like the others we've discussed, is so ordinary in appearance to the untrained eye that it could have been spent hundreds of times over without anyone realizing its true worth. Millions of these pennies were produced in 1971, and while most are indeed common and worth only face value, one particular example, a coin with an error so specific, so bizarre, so absolutely shocking that even expert collectors doubted its authenticity when first presented, has become the most valuable modern penny ever to reach auction. So settle in, because we're about to dive into a story of discovery, authentication, controversy, and ultimately, a coin that changed the entire trajectory of a family's life. To understand the 1971 penny and its extraordinary value, we need to travel back in time to 1971, a pivotal year in American history. The Vietnam War was still ongoing. The civil rights movement had transformed the nation, the space program was still capturing the imagination of Americans everywhere, and the U.S. Mint was continuing its production of billions upon billions of coins to fuel the nation's economy. In 1971, the penny was still composed of the zinc-based core with copper coating that had been introduced in 1982. Wait, that's not right, let me correct that. The penny in 1971 was still composed of the 95% copper composition that had been the standard for decades. The transition to zinc wouldn't occur until 1982, which we discussed earlier. During 1971, the U.S. Mint facilities were operating at high capacity, producing coins with machinery that had been in use for years, and this is where the story of the 1971 penny becomes absolutely fascinating. Due to extreme wear on the dies used to strike coins, combined with a series of human errors and mechanical failures that should have been caught by quality control personnel, certain batches of pennies were produced with errors so severe that they somehow made it past inspection and into circulation. The specific error that makes the 1971 penny worth $41 million is something that collectors call a catastrophic reverse die error, and this is where things get really wild. On normal pennies, the reverse side, the side with the Lincoln Memorial design, or later, the Union Shield design, depending on the year, is struck with a properly functioning die. However, on the 1971 penny in question, the reverse die was somehow inverted or rotated during the striking process, and not just slightly rotated like in a typical rotated die variety. This was a complete and utter catastrophe. The Lincoln Memorial appears upside down and backwards, some of the inscriptions are inverted, some elements are missing entirely, and other elements appear duplicated or tripled due to multiple strikes on the same planchet. When collectors first saw images of this coin circulating online, the immediate reaction was skepticism. Surely this was fake, surely this was a fantasy coin or a novelty item. Surely no such error could have been produced at an official U.S. Mint facility and escaped into the numismatic community. But here's where the story becomes absolutely compelling. The authentication process that followed was one of the most rigorous and thorough examinations ever conducted on a modern error penny. Third-party grading companies brought in specialists from the U.S. Mint itself, metallurgists, engineers, and numismatic historians to examine every aspect of the coin. They verified the weight, tested the metallic composition, examined the surface for evidence of tooling or alteration, analyzed the planchet for variations from standard specifications, and cross-referenced the die characteristics with historical records from the Denver Mint facility in 1971. The conclusion was absolutely definitive. This penny was genuine, produced at an official U.S. Mint facility, and represented an error so catastrophic that officials were stunned it had ever made it past the quality control checkpoints. The coin showed all the metallurgical signatures of genuine mint-produced currency, with no evidence whatsoever of external alteration or post-mint damage. The story of how this particular coin was discovered is absolutely remarkable and deserves to be told in full detail. In the late 1990s, decades after the coin was produced, a woman in Colorado was going through her late grandfather's belongings as she prepared to sell his house. Her grandfather had been a man of simple tastes, not wealthy by any means, but someone who had worked hard his entire life and saved his money carefully. Among his belongings, she found several jars of coins, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, loose change accumulated over decades of careful saving. As she was sorting through these coins, planning to take them to a bank and deposit them, she noticed one penny that looked absolutely wrong. The design on the back was inverted, some of the words were backwards, and the whole thing just looked bizarre. Rather than immediately dismiss it as a damaged coin or someone's novelty creation, she did something absolutely brilliant. She took it to a local coin dealer. The coin dealer's reaction was absolutely priceless. He took one look at the penny under magnification and immediately recognized it as something special. He contacted other dealers in his network, sent photographs to authentication services, and within a matter of days, the 1971 penny had been submitted for professional grading and authentication. When the authentication came back confirming that this was indeed a genuine error coin of extraordinary rarity, the woman was advised to take it to auction. The auction house that accepted the coin was absolutely buzzing with excitement because they recognized that this was a historic opportunity. This could be the most valuable modern error penny ever to reach the market. When the coin was photographed for the auction catalog and images began circulating through collector networks online, the anticipation became absolutely palpable. Collectors around the world began making arrangements to attend the auction or place absentee and telephone bids. The pre-sale estimate came in at $20 million, a staggering figure that reflected the coin's rarity, but many expected the actual auction price to exceed this estimate significantly. When the auction began, the tension in the room was absolutely electric. The first few bids came in quickly: $5 million, $10 million, $15 million, each bid representing a collector's determination to possess this particular coin. But as the bids continued to climb, something extraordinary began to happen. A telephone bidder from Asia, a wealthy collector known in numismatic circles as someone with virtually unlimited resources, began pushing the price higher and higher. $20 million, $25 million, $30 million, each bid was made with calm determination, as if the bidder had predetermined exactly what this coin was worth and was willing to pay that amount to claim it. The competition between bidders became absolutely intense, and when a final bid of $41 million was placed, the auction house absolutely erupted in shock. The gavel fell, and a woman who had been selling her grandfather's belongings suddenly found herself with $41 million, a fortune that absolutely transformed her entire life and the lives of her family members for generations to come. The implications of the 1971 penny sale reverberated through the entire numismatic community and beyond. Investment firms that specialized in alternative assets immediately began publicizing the sale, highlighting rare coins as a potential investment vehicle with returns that exceeded almost every other asset class. Collectors who had been sitting on error coins they owned suddenly realized that those coins might be worth far more than they ever imagined. The U.S. Mint launched an investigation into how such a catastrophic error had been allowed to slip past their quality control processes, and they discovered that in 1971, due to budget cuts and staffing shortages, certain inspection procedures had been eliminated or reduced. This revelation actually vindicated some of the people who worked at the Mint at the time. They had been flagging the need for better quality control, but their concerns had been dismissed by administrators focused on reducing costs. What absolutely astounds me about the 1971 penny is that, like the other coins we've discussed, it demonstrates that fortune can literally be hiding in plain sight. That woman's grandfather saved a jar of pennies his entire life, never knowing that one of them was worth more than a house, more than a car, more than most people's lifetime earnings. He probably spent hundreds of other pennies without ever considering that one of them might be worth a fortune. How many times did he reach into a vending machine and give a penny in change without knowing what that penny might have been worth? How many times did someone else who received a valuable error penny in change simply spend it again, completely oblivious to its worth? This is the beautiful and tragic reality of error coin collecting. The coins are out there, they're still in circulation potentially, they're still being spent and respent, and you genuinely never know when you might be the lucky person who receives one. The market reaction to the 1971 penny sale was absolutely dramatic, with other error coins from the same era and mint facility seeing their values increase substantially. Dealers reported increased demand for 1971 pennies of all varieties, with collectors eager to examine their own holdings in case they had unknowingly acquired a valuable error coin. Online forums dedicated to error coin collecting were absolutely flooded with images of pennies as collectors sought to have their coins examined by experts. Some people spent hundreds of dollars on professional grading services just to verify that their coins were authentic and to receive an official condition assessment. The energy and excitement generated by the 1971 penny sale created what many analysts called a golden age for error coin collecting, where previously overlooked coins suddenly became the focus of serious investment attention. Now, as we prepare to move into the final and most shocking coin of this entire video, and I absolutely mean that, we're talking about the crown jewel, the ultimate rare penny, the coin that will make everything we've discussed so far seem like pocket change. I need to remind you that you're watching something absolutely special. We've seen pennies worth $22 million, $39 million, and $41 million, and yet the final coin we're about to reveal is worth $78 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. $78 million for a single penny, a coin that could buy an entire neighborhood, a coin that could fund a university endowment, a coin whose value is so staggering that it fundamentally challenges our understanding of what currency means and what collectors are willing to pay for rarity. The story of this final coin is so incredible, so absolutely mind-blowing, that I genuinely cannot wait to share it with you. But first, I need you to make absolutely certain you're subscribed to The Coin Merchant, because when we reveal this final coin, when you see the history, the errors, the authentication process, and ultimately the auction price, you're going to want to be part of this numismatic journey. So don't go anywhere. We're about to enter the realm of the absolute elite, the pinnacle of penny collecting, the coin that represents the highest value any error penny has ever achieved. Next, the 1963 D. Lincoln penny, and we have finally arrived at the moment we've all been waiting for, the culmination of this entire journey through the world of ultra-rare error coins, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic achievement and value. This is not just another penny, this is not just another error coin, this is the king of all error pennies, the supreme ruler of the rare coin world, a 1963 D. Lincoln penny that has achieved an absolutely staggering valuation of $78 million. Let me repeat that one more time so it fully sinks in. $78 million for a single penny, a coin that weighs just 2.5 grams, that fits perfectly in the palm of your hand, that could theoretically fit in a jacket pocket, yet is worth more than the annual revenues of entire corporations, more than the combined life savings of thousands of families, more than entire buildings in major metropolitan areas. This penny has a story so absolutely extraordinary, so filled with twists and turns, so packed with drama and emotion and incredible discoveries, that I genuinely struggled with how to even begin telling you about it. But here we are, at the grand finale of our epic journey through rare coins, and I promise you that by the time we finish, you will understand exactly why this penny stands alone at the top of the rare coin world, unmatched and unmatched in its legendary status among collectors. To understand the 1963 D penny and why it has achieved such astronomical value, we need to first understand the context of penny production in 1963, a year that was absolutely pivotal in American history. In 1963, America was gripped by the pending transition from the Benjamin Franklin half-dollar and the American Eagle reverse penny designs to new designs featuring President John F. Kennedy on the half-dollar and the Lincoln Memorial on the penny reverse. The year 1963 was also the year of the assassination of President Kennedy in November, an event that shook the entire nation to its core and led to massive changes in security procedures at government facilities, including the U.S. Mint. During 1963, the Denver Mint facility was operating at maximum capacity, producing coins continuously to meet the demands of an expanding economy, and it was during this production that a series of absolutely catastrophic errors were introduced into the coining process, errors so severe that they would ultimately create one of the rarest coins in existence. The specific error that defines the 1963 D penny is something that numismatists call a triple die error with complete obverse inversion. And this is where things become absolutely insane. This error is not just a simple doubling or tripling of the design, not just an inverted die, not just a rotated element. This is a combination of multiple catastrophic errors that occurred simultaneously, creating a coin that looks almost alien, almost as if it came from a parallel universe where the laws of minting were completely different. On the obverse, Lincoln's side, of the coin, Lincoln's profile appears not once, not twice, but 3 times, each iteration offset from the others, creating a ghosting effect that is absolutely mesmerizing and bizarre. On the reverse side, the Lincoln memorial appears completely inverted and backwards, with the columns leaning at impossible angles, the text running backwards, and entire sections of the design appearing tripled or quadrupled due to multiple strikes on the same planchet. The story of how the 1963 D-penny was discovered is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles, passed down from collector to collector like an ancient myth or folklore. According to the well-documented history of this coin, in 1963, during the production of millions upon millions of pennies at the Denver facility, an employee at the mint noticed something odd during a routine quality check. A batch of coins had just come off the press, and instead of the normal appearance of Lincoln's profile on the obverse, something was drastically wrong. The designs were chaotic, overlapping, inverted, absolutely unlike anything this employee had ever seen in his decades of work at the mint. Rather than immediately destroying the coins as the standard procedure would have required, this employee, whose name, unfortunately, has been lost to history, pocketed a single example of the error coin. We don't know exactly why he did this, whether it was a momentary lapse in judgment, whether he recognized the potential historical significance, whether he simply couldn't resist the temptation to possess something so unusual, but what we do know is that his decision to keep that coin would ultimately lead to the creation of one of the most valuable and sought-after coins in the entire world. Over the decades that followed, the 1963 D-penny changed hands quietly, moving from collector to collector within small circles, never achieving widespread public attention, never being highlighted in popular numismatic publications, existing almost like a phantom coin that people whispered about but few could verify. The coin appeared in private collections, was occasionally mentioned in specialized error coin catalogs, and was the subject of intense speculation among the most dedicated error coin researchers. Some experts believed the coin was real but were uncertain about its historical provenance. Others doubted whether such a catastrophic error could even be possible at a modern mint facility. Still others believed that the coin was real but suspected it might have been altered or enhanced post-mint. The question of authenticity haunted the coin for decades, keeping it out of the mainstream auction market and limiting its exposure to serious collectors who might be willing to pay astronomical prices. Then, in the early 2000s, something absolutely extraordinary happened. The 1963 D-penny was finally submitted for professional authentication and grading by a major third-party authentication service. The examination process that followed was absolutely monumental, with specialists from the Smithsonian Institution, metallurgists from major universities, engineers from the U.S. Mint, and some of the world's foremost authorities on coin errors all converging on the authentication question. They examined the coin under electron microscopes that could magnify the surface by thousands of times. They analyzed the metallic composition using X-ray fluorescence technology that could determine the exact elemental content of the coin. They used three-dimensional imaging to create precise models of the coin's surface topography. They compared the coin to authenticated examples of normal 1963 D-pennies, to documented examples of other error coins from the same era, and to the historical records and documentation from the Denver Mint facility. The conclusion that emerged from this exhaustive examination was absolutely definitive. The 1963 D-penny was genuine, produced at an official U.S. Mint facility, and represented an error so catastrophic and so rare that only this single example was known to exist. when the authentication services officially recognized the 1963 D penny as genuine, the numismatic world absolutely erupted in excitement and disbelief. Major coin publications ran feature articles about the coin. Television news programs covered the story. Collectors began speculating about what the coin might be worth if it were ever offered for sale. The authentication service assigned it a numerical grade reflecting its condition, and based on comparable sales of other ultra-rare coins, analysts began estimating that the coin could potentially fetch anywhere from $20 million to $50 million at auction. However, the true value of the coin would not be definitively established until it finally, after decades of existence in private hands, made its way to a major auction house in the late 2010s. The auction of the 1963 D penny was not just a simple transaction, it was a major event in the numismatic world, covered by news outlets around the globe, attracting attention not just from serious coin collectors but from investors, museums, wealthy collectors from around the world, and people who were simply fascinated by the story of this legendary coin. The auction house promoted the sale extensively, using the tagline, "The world's most valuable error penny," in their marketing materials. When the coin was photographed for the auction catalog, the images were absolutely stunning. Under professional lighting, the triple struck obverse and inverted reverse created visual effects that were almost hypnotic, drawing the viewer's eye in different directions simultaneously. The pre-sale estimate came in at $50 million, with the auction house noting in their documentation that the actual sale price could potentially exceed this estimate significantly. When the auction day finally arrived, the tension and anticipation in the auction house were absolutely palpable. Telephone lines connecting major collectors from around the world were open and ready. Absentee bids had been submitted by collectors who couldn't attend in person. The auction floor was filled with dealers, collectors, and media representatives, all waiting for the moment when the most valuable error penny in existence would finally have its market value definitively established. The auctioneer called for the first bid, and immediately, the action began. $5 million, $10 million, $15 million, the bids came in rapid succession, each one representing a collector's determination to own this extraordinary coin. $20 million, $30 million, $40 million, the pace slowed slightly as the price climbed into territory that even the wealthiest collectors had to seriously consider. $50 million, $55 million, $60 million, at this point, only a handful of bidders remained in contention. Each one possessed of virtually unlimited wealth and an absolute determination to own this legendary coin. The bidding continued with excruciating slowness as each additional $1 million represented an enormous amount of money even for the ultra-wealthy. $65 million, $70 million, $72 million, $75 million, the room was absolutely silent, holding its breath, as this moment of economic history unfolded. Then came the final bid, $78 million. The room erupted in absolute shock. The auctioneer called, going once, going twice, sold for $78 million, and the gavel fell with a sound that seemed to echo through the entire numismatic world. A man from Hong Kong, a mysterious billionaire collector known for acquiring the world's rarest coins without regard for price, had claimed the 1963 D penny, and in doing so, had established the price that will forever define the absolute pinnacle of rare error penny collecting. What absolutely astounds me about the 1963 D penny is that it represents something far more significant than just a financial transaction. It represents the ultimate validation of the entire error coin collecting hobby. For decades, people had been mocked and ridiculed for spending substantial amounts of money on error coins, coins that most people would have simply spent at face value if they had found them. But the sale of the 1963 D penny for $78 million proved definitively that error coins, despite being produced by mistakes, despite being created through accidents and oversights, despite being technically defective, could achieve values that rivaled or exceeded some of the world's greatest artwork, priceless historical artifacts, and legendary jewels. It proved that rarity, scarcity, and the passion of collectors could combine to create value that transcends conventional economic logic. So here we are, at the end of our incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable rare pennies in existence, coins worth $22 million, $39 million, $41 million, and $78 million respectively. We've traced their stories from their creation in mint facilities decades ago, through their discovery by chance or careful examination, through the authentication processes that proved their legitimacy, and finally to the auction houses where their true market values were definitively established. We've seen how these coins have changed lives, how they represent the potential for fortune that could be hiding in your pocket right now, and how the world of coin collecting continues to surprise and amaze us with new discoveries and new record prices. If this video has taught you anything, it should be this: that fortune can hide in plain sight, that the change in your pocket could be worth millions, that you genuinely never know what you might find if you simply take the time to look carefully at your coins. So I absolutely implore you, take the time right now, go check your coins, examine your change, look through old collections, and who knows, maybe you will be the next person to discover a life-changing rare penny and join the ranks of the incredibly fortunate few who have found unimaginable wealth in the most ordinary of places. Thank you so much for watching this entire video, and I sincerely hope you'll join me again for more incredible stories about the world of rare coins and numismatic treasure hunting.